What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream right here on YouTube Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday mornings US time, so come by and say hello. Okay, so I wanted to go over the town hall. If you've missed it, or if you're new to the channel, I'm sorry. This is my usual five biggest takeaways from the town hall. I put this out weekly following the town halls. And it is not a summary, so just a little disclaimer. There are other fantastic content creators out there that do full summaries. I highly recommend you go check them out and show them some support. What I am looking at is the official Splinterlands Town Hall summary that is on their Peak Deep blog. So if you want a written version, definitely go check that out. So I'm going to use this as a reference, but I also like to have my 5 things here so you can follow along and where the conversation will lead. Now, the first thing, let's just jump right in. Matt said, and obviously there was a lot of talk about nodes and validator node licenses, but it was interesting to me to hear Matt say, maybe nodes will never sell out. That caught my attention because obviously the way that nodes are priced is they scale up, right? So I believe it's going to be like 40 grand. I don't know. I'll have to look back at it, but it's going to be kind of insane later on to think about where the price will go. And if you look at what happened with the Gala model, they started selling so fast that they had to increase the different thresholds for every tranche. I mean, for Gala, I don't know if they were called tranches, but for Splinterlands, they're called tranches. So due to that, it was interesting to hear Matt actually say, maybe they never sell out, and that's okay. So I don't know. I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know how to feel about that initially, and I'm still working my way through it, but it was interesting that, you know, selling out of these isn't necessarily the goal. The goal at the end of the day is decentralization, and if you can get enough nodes out there, then you'll have that, right? So you don't need to have all 60,000 out and working. Obviously, you can run a node without having a license, so that's something to keep in mind too. It's just the way that those rewards will work is, you know, they're split between, it's only 10% of the total pot being split between however many accounts are doing it without a license. And as I say, that usually filters up to the top, 10 to 20 accounts. And from there, it doesn't really make it worthwhile for anybody else. But what they want to do is incentivize anybody around the world to run a node. And hopefully the rewards that they get will push value back to the node license holders and anybody who is running a node that makes sense from a financial standpoint, right? So nobody's just doing this out of the goodness of their own heart. Hopefully some people will, but at the end of the day, many people are looking at this as a way to get long-term value from the game in things that are not even like fathomable right now. So yes, there's going to be SPS and there's going to be vouchers, but who knows where node licenses could evolve to offer you. And I guess not just node licenses, but nodes would offer in terms of getting some other kind of value in the future. But that's not where I really wanted to go with this. It was more so just the idea that maybe we never sell out, meaning that the way that Matt is thinking about this is incredibly long term. He wants this to be around for years, right? So this is one of the things that they even wrote here. The goal is to have validator licenses available for many years to come. So anybody who's like freaking out about like not getting in right away, obviously the price is going to go up significantly, and at a certain point, there'll be a cost benefit analysis. I feel like the cost benefit analysis is happening right now, just with, these are not set to go live on the mainnet until Q4. But with that being the case, many people still are feeling the FOMO to get in. And I'm still trying to make a decision on whether I want to go for one or not, or, maybe roll the dice and see what things look like after the initial rush comes through. And I'll be covering that. I'll be covering that and what my plans are in another video once I have an idea of what I'd like to do. But the reason that I'm calling this out is because I trust Matt first and foremost, but more so, I trust Matt when he gives a timeline, because everybody got hyped about Chaos Legion, and the only person that was, in my opinion, kind of going counter to the narrative of like, oh my God, Chaos Legion is going to sell out, was Matt. And he's just like, I don't think it's going to happen, because the way that they had priced the packs as well as increased the total supply of packs This, in his mind, was supposed to last a year, of which we're, not even halfway through this year right now. We're coming up on the halfway point and we're more than halfway sold. But for everybody who's like itching to be like, oh, well, they made too many packs. They made too many packs. They didn't. They didn't, at least not yet. Because if Matt wanted this to last a year, so far he is tracking right on point, which means that I trust his judgment when it comes to setting the goal of having validator licenses available for years to come. Are these going to sell out this year? They could, right? And if if that happens, then I'll I'll eat my words later. But all I'm trying to say is that the way that Matt had planned this out is they will be available for many years to come. So that's kind of how I see this being the case. And as Splinterlands is a very long-term focused project, it's going to be awesome to see what kind of value they can deliver in the future to make those, $20,000 and $40,000 price points have significant value, where somebody's just like, yeah, I'm going to drop a down payment on a house because look at what I'm getting out of this, right? And so whether that's the price of SPS and vouchers going to the moon, or if they find other ways to deliver value through there, right? So it may not just be SPS, right? I'm not trying to throw out any price predictions on SPS or vouchers, but it could be in other ways that value is driven to either those tokens or just to node holders in general. So something to think about. And like I said, it caught my attention when he said that, because to me, I'm just like, oh shoot, that's like really long-term thinking, right? Not just that it won't sell out right away and be available for years, but maybe it just never sells out, which in a sense initially kind of scared me, because I'm just like, well, isn't the goal to always drive enough value to these things that they all sell out, right? Like at some point in the future, I want this game to be so awesome that, people are climbing over each other to pay, tens of thousands of dollars for these nodes. So, I think I just took it maybe the wrong way at first, but in reading and diving into it a little bit further, it makes sense that he wants these available for years to come. And hopefully they do sell out at some point, because the game is that awesome and delivers. Okay, so let's go now to the second item here. So there was a lot of talk about rewards as well. This is Matt's monthly visit, so I'm glad he was able to dive into it relatively deep, or in a deep manner. So the thing is, with the way with the way the rewards are shaping up to release, we may not get another Matt Town Hall before that happens. So this was a good way for him to dive deep. Although there's still not many details. It's just a lot of vague this is kind of the general direction that we're going. So maybe we'll have to get that in a post that will clarify all these things. But it's like one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to wait another month for rewards. Like if these rewards are not out by mid-May, that's going to suck. And Matt said that he's expecting these to be out by mid-May, or by May is what he said. But, if they're trying to get this out by the beginning or end of this month, which I think was what they initially said, right? Like they want to do it at the end of a season, which means that we're probably looking at end of April. And if that doesn't happen, one of the videos that I created earlier was, if that doesn't happen, well, then it's going to be after the next season, which would probably be mid-May. And if that doesn't happen, it's going to be another 15 days from there, which would be end of May, right? So it's going to be at one of those times. If it ends up being end of May, then yeah, maybe we get Matt to come on one more time and go through all the details, because I can't see a situation where they're going to release the stuff and he doesn't come on. So maybe it's not 3 weeks until his next, 4 weeks until his next visit. But okay, I'm getting totally sidetracked here. What I wanted to talk about with the reward shares is, he was kind of using reward shares synonymously with focus points, which is what I think they had talked about in a previous town hall. And one of the things that was interesting is that every game that you play, right? So every ranked battle that you play is going to give you, in addition to DEC, these reward shares. And as you build up enough reward shares, that will determine the amount of chests that you get for like your daily quest. And then also on a seasonal basis, your end of season rewards. So that got me thinking about, okay, well, and I might dive deeper into this in a separate video, but it's just like their goal was to incentivize you to play every day. So now for many people who are just going in, especially a lot of, I guess, the bot or delegation accounts right now, and It's like you go in, you like shoot up all the way to this top ranking, and then you rent out your cards for the rest of the season, and you don't do anything else. Well, now there may be this, at least the way that I'm understanding it, is there may be this incentive to keep playing every day because, like, okay, let's say you play one out of the, let's say you're in Champion, for example, right? Just to make it easy. And there's 15 days in Champion, and there's 150 end of season chests, is what you get in Champion, which is insane. But I think at the top level of Champion. So 15 days, 150. But what they're going to do now is, well, maybe you need to be racking up reward shares every single day so that, let's say you only play, let's say you only play the first 2 days of the season. You farm those DEC rewards when they're good, and you get all these reward shares, and then you rent out your cards. Well, now you've only done 2 out of the 15 days, and because of that, you're only going to get 20 chests rather than the 150. You get what I'm saying here? So if that is the way to incentivize people to play, I think a lot of people will probably be a little upset about it, especially those who have very strong, powerful decks that they like to rent out mid-season. That is going to go away, which should be interesting. But then that will also create more demand throughout the season because many people won't be renting their cards anymore, if you think about it. So if that ends up being the case, and I'm understanding this right, it could change the entire nature of the economy just because of the incentives for gameplay. Like wanting people to play more and to not miss out is going to be very important. So hopefully I'm understanding that correctly. The other things that they talked about is just like your DEC bonuses right now that you get from guilds or using gold foils or win streaks, alpha, beta, that is going to increase your reward shares too. So in a way, the more you play with the different bonuses that you have right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to change. That's going to get you all the little extras, and hopefully you'll get more and more as you go along. So I really like this. I need to think a little bit further about it, but the initial implications for me are, well, it could have a very, very drastic and significant impact on the overall rental economy if people are no longer renting their cards out. So just something to think about. And I don't know if this is not how I would have done it, but well, actually, I shouldn't say that. The wording here, and it was said in the town hall, and it's obviously been written down here. Starter cards will reduce your reward shares. So when I read that as negative rather than starter cards would be 0 or neutral. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you were to use starter cards, then they don't add value to you getting DEC. They don't add value to you getting reward shares. This makes it sound like if you use a starter card, now you're getting like -1 point, right, for your reward shares, or negative DEC for your reward shares. So I don't know if that's what they meant by this. But again, it might just be semantics, and I'm thinking about it too strongly. Okay, the third thing, and this is a big one, is the rewards, as Matt had said, are going to filter up. And they want to not only heavily increase rewards across all tiers, but they really want the higher leagues to have much higher rewards. And the example that they give here is, Champion will have a significantly higher chance to get gold foil legendaries in their Champion chests. Now, I think back to the bronze nerfs because there was a lot of outcry when that happened. And obviously, DEC being taken away from Bronze 3, and then DEC in chests being taken away from all of Bronze, essentially, and being switched to credits was a big issue for people. But what kind of got lost under the radar, and even when I remember when I was covering this, somebody said that I should, I missed this or I wasn't thinking through it, was the fact that the rewards that you were getting, I believe it was on a filtering up, it was on a squared basis, and then it went to a cube basis. And without getting too deep into what that means, it's the idea that, well, the rewards are filtering up so that they are exponentially higher at the higher leagues versus the lower leagues, right? And people really viewed that as a strong nerf to the bronze rewards. And actually, not just bronze, but silver, gold, like if everything is filtering to the top. So what it sounds like is they're going to be doing that even more now, and the reason that they give, I think, is incredibly valid, right? I get it, because what they are trying to do is they want somebody who has a very strong card collection to play at the highest of levels, right? Like they're trying to incentivize you. If you have 500,000 CPU, which I think is enough to be in Champion, like they don't want even that person. They don't want them playing 2 decks, 250 and 250 down in Diamond. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and Diamond might not be the best example. Maybe they make 3 accounts and they play in gold because they can just absolutely dominate in gold with the collection power in the deck that they have. Whereas now it's just like, well, instead of taking that and dividing it, you want to be in champion. We're going to make the rewards so freaking good in champion. And when I say champion, I'm just talking about like whatever league this is compared to where you are at, right? That everybody's going to be trying to stretch. Everybody's going to be consolidating into one account. And, they've talked about this before, that they want to incentivize people to be playing and to not have multiple accounts, right? So they're not banning it. They're not frowning upon it. What they're doing is actually just disincentivizing it, right? They're trying to create instead of using a stick, right? They're using the carrot. They're trying to say, hey, like, why would you want to do this? We're not gonna come down and crack down hard on you for this, but why would you do that when look at all the shiny stuff is here within your grasp if you were just to play at the place that we think you're capable of playing at, right? Based on the card collection and the collection power that you have. So I like that. It'll be interesting to see what the reward tiers actually look like. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion when that happens. I think there's going to be a lot of unhappy people, but I am excited about it, and I think that it'll be a good thing overall, and it will incentivize people to really level up as quickly as they can. Now, for those people who are in the lower leagues, I still think that at the end of the day, yes, you're going to look at this and be like, is this, a net negative? And I think that ultimately, again, we're going to have to see what the full details are, but I think ultimately it's still going to be a net positive, because if you're able to earn more chests in the lower tiers, yes, you won't have as high a chance of getting a gold foil or a pack or whatever the case is, but you may be able to get more rewards than you are getting right now. And that sounds exactly like what they're trying to do. So the net positive for you in bronze, in silver, in gold for someone like myself is that, okay, well, I'm still in a better place now than I was before. And I have even more incentive to make sure that I am going up and stretching as far as I can into the higher leagues whenever possible. So we'll see how that shakes out. But that to me was a big takeaway. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on it. So number 4, there was a new team member named Pluck, who is a quantitative researcher on the team, and it sounds like Pluck works directly with Matt on understanding the dynamics within the game. So let me just give the example that he gave while he was speaking. So, for example, what he's trying to do, or one of the things that he was looking into, is how many people that have a collection power worthy of diamond or champion or gold are playing in a league that doesn't fit them, right? That doesn't suit them. And taking that data, looking at it and saying, well, are the incentives wrong then, right? So to take this back to the last point, now that to me, that's really exciting, because it's not something that I was thinking about. It wasn't something like I know the team has this data, and I know the team is looking into it, and but to have somebody specifically that is like diving deep and collecting all of this, like it's something that I wasn't actively thinking about. It's like I knew what was going on in the background, and I knew the team had some way of tracking this, but to hear the specific example, like for Pluck to come on and give the specific example to say, like, how many people are doing this, it made me go back and look at some of my games. Now, I have 160k CP, which is good enough to be in gold 2, right? And that's where I play. My rating is, I feel like I overachieve sometimes, so my rating is technically good enough to be in gold 1, but for the most part, I'm in gold. I'm like safely set in gold. There's no chance of me going to diamond just because I don't have the CP, and it would be much more difficult for me to compete. But what I notice is that there are many accounts that sometimes I beat, but they'll be playing and they have over 1 million collection power, right? 1.2, 1.1 million collection power. Now, 500k is enough to be in champion. So yes, maybe these people are like running around with accounts that have like, that have like, multi-million collection power. But that begs the question. If diamond sits at 250k and gold 1 is at 200k, like if somebody has that much CP in that account, right? Like it's not like they've delegated the accounts to other places. They are playing actively with 1.1 million CP, and they're playing against me in gold. That makes sense now that somebody's looking at that and saying, why is this person doing that? What is the incentive for them to play down in gold, right? So I don't know. I like the fact that somebody's taking a look at that, and that is being used as a very powerful metric, hopefully, um, to figure out how to best incentivize people who are playing. Like I was just looking today, right? I was just looking today, and I found three ranked battles that I played against people with more than 1 million power, just within my last couple of battles. And it's just like, okay, well, I'm glad somebody on the team is looking at this and saying, why is this person with over 1 million CP playing down in gold? Like, what is their incentive, and how do we change those incentives to make it so that they don't do that? Like, they have twice as much power than they need for champion. Why aren't they playing in champion? So Pluck, I think Pluck has been with the team for a couple months now, so I just wanted to call that out and said I appreciate the work that they're doing, and I hope that ends up being a helpful addition for the overall rewards update that is incoming. Okay, and finally, Matt mentioned this towards the end, but I just wanted to call it out as well, and I don't know if it's here somewhere. Oh, increasing players. So the team is excited to work with gaming guilds to increase the number of players. New reward changes will add more value to scholars, which gives value to the gaming guilds, which should allow for more scholar opportunities. Now, they've been talking about gaming guilds and focusing on gaming guilds for a while, and I think many people in the community look at this, and there's a bit of a split reaction to it. And I always sat in the middle just because I didn't really know how to think about it, nor did I spend much time thinking about it. But for many people, they'll look at this and say, well, okay, now you're going to have these guilds come in, they're going to own all the assets, and then they're just going to, have these players play. And so, and they're going to withdraw all the value. These players are going to be spending their time, and they're not going to get much out of it. In talking to some of the guilds and hearing some of the guilds who come on, it doesn't seem like that's their goal. It seems like they have the assets or the resources to be able to invest in these assets and then give the scholars a good experience with the game. Now, the flip side of that is that what the team is saying is that it's going to incentivize a lot of people to come through. So thinking about this, especially from what I've seen from many players, let's put it this way, many disgruntled accounts, right? From people playing in the lower levels, new to the game, don't have as much resources to invest, and are talking about how awful the experience is. I get it. And what I guess I'm trying to say is the guilds are really a net positive for the entire community and space then. Because if you can go to a guild, right? Like at the end of the day, if you are trying to play this game because you love it, you enjoy the gameplay, you enjoy the community aspect of it, you enjoy you enjoy Splinterlands and what Splinterlands is trying to build, then why wouldn't you go to a guild that can give you a maxed out silver deck or give you a maxed out gold deck and say, here, have at it, have fun, play the game, grind, and we split the rewards, right? And then you are able to take from that and bring it back into your personal account and start building up your deck, building up your collection power, building up all these different things. So, I think when we think of guilds and scholarships, it's usually, and I don't mean any disrespect or offense by this, but, it's tended to cover, or at least the way that it's covered in media, for example, is people who are playing in places like the Philippines, where it's just like they can come away and earning $5 a day is very significant for them. I think that's great, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that. I think that's actually awesome. But I think what gaming guilds can offer is that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your situation is, if you want to get involved and be part of a gaming guild, then you can have a very positive experience with the game because you are playing with a leveled up deck and these leveled up cards, and you're able to then use your talent, your knowledge of the game, your strategy, and actually be very competitive playing with someone else's cards. And when you do that, hopefully that increases your love for the game, that increases your incentive to level up your own deck to become independent, right? And that's kind of where I see gaming guilds, kind of being this onboarding ramp in the future where, people will go into a gaming guild and they'll play for a year, right? And over that time, within a year, they will acquire assets. They will, take whatever earnings they have, compound it back into their own account, and then be able to, start playing at higher and higher levels with their own account and start earning more and more that way. And then maybe they graduate from the guild, for lack of better words, and decide to move on because they are at a place now where they feel comfortable. They're earning and they're enjoying the experience on their account rather than playing in Bronze 2. You get what I'm saying? So I guess I'm understanding that a little bit better now and the value that brings. Obviously, they've been talking about this since December, but Matt coming on and discussing, and then the conversations that I've had with specific guilds, I think the team focusing on this from like a mass, player induction perspective is great. And the fact that they are working so closely with gaming guilds to make sure that the experience is positive is great for me. Like, keep in mind, at the end of the day, the team is still running marketing. They're doing their ads, and Chatter even mentioned that they finally got approved for Google, so they're going to be doing all these kind of ads, and they're going to be trying to bring in individual players all along, which is just how things have been for I guess forever at this point. But now with the focus on gaming guilds, and we've seen some major guilds come in and buy $1 million worth of assets. That's going to be interesting to see how this kind of shakes out over time. And if, it'd be awesome. And if you have been playing in a guild, I would actually love to have you on to talk about your experience. If you've been playing in a guild and it's been a positive thing for you and you feel like, maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you are, but what you've been able to get by playing out of the guild is a positive experience, as well as being able to accrue more assets, like increase your own personal deck. I'm curious and would love to chat with you. So I'll just throw that out there. So that is actually all I have. I'm just going to share the little eye candy that they had because there's some cool stuff here from Creative. So, there's some different backgrounds and backdrops that they want to have. So you have like novice versus bronze, where you can start to see things filling up as you rise the ranks. You got a little more trophies on the shelf, and then, different animations here for the reward chest that'll be opening. And then where were the plushies? Weren't there some plushies somewhere? There we go. Look at that Jotun plushie. And apparently there's a kitty plushie coming too. So adorable. All right, guys, that's all I have for you in this video. Sorry, I know it went a little bit longer than I normally do, and but a lot to cover. Obviously, anytime Matt is on, it's a good time. So I would recommend going to watch it yourself if you have the time available. But if you don't, appreciate you stopping through here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.